What if John Wick never truly survived the night his wife died, and everything we witnessed across all 4 films was not the story of a man fighting to live, but the journey of a soul trapped in purgatory? In John Wick, Chapter 1, John does not behave like someone still attached to life. He moves slowly, speaks little, and exists in a house filled with shadows and memories, as if he is already halfway gone. Helen's death doesn't ignite him, it empties him, and the dog she leaves behind becomes his final emotional anchor, a symbol of innocence and unconditional love that keeps him tethered to the living world. When that dog is brutally taken from him, something deeper than revenge is unleashed. It is the moment John Wick truly dies, and the man we follow afterward is no longer living, but enduring. From that point on, the world bends into something unnatural. Violence is silent and precise. Death has rules, and everyone already knows his name before he arrives, as if his sins echo through the realm he now walks. In Chapter 2, the assassin underworld expands into something that feels less like society and more like a spiritual system governed by ritual, debt, and judgment. Blood markers function like sacred contracts, impossible to escape, and the Continental becomes a place of false sanctuary where peace exists only under strict law. John repeatedly tries to refuse this world, but purgatory does not allow refusal. You must face what you owe. When John breaks the ultimate rule by killing on Continental grounds, he doesn't just commit a crime, he condemns himself, triggering a process that feels like divine judgment rather than simple punishment. Chapter 3 turns this judgment into complete exile. Declared excommunicado, John is stripped of all protection, hunted by everyone, and reduced to survival at its rawest form. Friends become obstacles, mercy disappears, and even the desert serves as a spiritual trial, draining him physically and mentally until he is forced to cut off his own finger as an act of penance. This sacrifice is not about loyalty, it is about pain, a sinner proving he is willing to suffer to continue walking this path. By Chapter 4, John Wick is no longer fighting out of anger or revenge, he is climbing toward an ending. The repeated imagery of staircases, long walks, and exhausting journeys symbolizes ascension, each step paid for with blood and memory. Old allies return not to save him, but to test him one last time, acting like guardians at the final gate. For the first time, John chooses a duel instead of endless slaughter, not because he is weak, but because he has accepted what must be done. When the final shot is fired and John collapses, there is no desperation, no attempt to cling to life, only calm acceptance. His last thoughts are not of violence or legacy, but of love, the one thing that anchored him to life in the first place. The grave at the end is not simply proof of death, it is proof of release. John Wick was never fighting the world or his enemies, he was fighting his past, his guilt, and the weight of the man he used to be. And purgatory does not end when you win. It ends when you finally forgive yourself and let go.